Tuya was a very kind and friendly boy who God accidentally sent to an isekai, taking him to a fantasy world with a very powerful smartphone. He now lives a second life and decides to get several girlfriends by helping those in need during the day and sharing intimate moments at night. Before this, God apologizes for having taken Tuya's life and tells him that he will be transferred to another world. To reward him, God asks Tuya if he wants to take something with him. Tuya asks to bring his smartphone, and God is surprised that this is the only thing he wants but agrees. The next moment, Tuya wakes up in another world with his smartphone. Suddenly, God calls him and says he has changed his phone settings, so it is completely useful in that world, but he cannot contact anyone other than God. Then Tuya wonders where he can get money, but suddenly, a wealthy merchant appears from his carriage and begs Tuya to sell him his unique-looking clothes. Then the man, named Zanak, takes Tuya to his clothing store in the city and orders his staff to get new clothes for Tuya. It ends with Zanak paying Tuya gold coins, and Tuya asks the man if there is a place where he could stay in the city. The man suggests a place called Silver Moon Inn, and Tuya heads towards there. On his way, he hears some guys pressing two girls to sell a crystal for a silver coin, but the girls refuse. Hearing this, Tuya intervenes and declares that he will buy the crystal for a gold coin, which the girls accept immediately. Then Tuya breaks the crystal and states that it belongs to him, so he is free to destroy it. Furious, the thugs attack him thinking he is weak, but unbeknownst to them, after the encounter with God, Tuya received a boost in his skills, so he easily defeats the thugs. Tuya then hands a gold coin to the girls, they accept it and thank him for saving them. The sisters introduce themselves as Elza and Linza. Tuya asks them about the Silver Moon Inn, and they reveal that they are staying there, so they take him with them. After checking in, the girls express their regret for having accepted a shady job instead of accepting jobs at a guild. Hearing that Tuya asks to go with them so he can get a job, and they promise to show Tuya around for having saved them before. The next day, they find themselves in front of the guild request board, but Tuya cannot read their language, which surprises the girls. But then Elza suggests that they form a group together since they need someone strong like him, and he accepts. Then they hunt wolves for the job, and even manage to get more wolves than they requested. So when they come to collect their reward, they decide to keep a fang as a souvenir of their first mission. Later, Tuya asks them to teach him how to read and write. When Linz agrees to do so, Tuya also asks them to teach him magic. At this, Linza takes out some magic crystals and explains that each person has their magic aptitudes, which can be tested by using the crystals. She demonstrates this by showing that she has an aptitude for water, while Elza does not have it but has an aptitude for strengthening magic. But when Tuya tests the water crystal, he almost floods the whole room, so they continue outside. And to the girls' surprise, Tuya tests the different crystals and demonstrates that he has an aptitude for everything. But then he notices one more crystal, and they explain that it is for null magic, which is a personalized magic. When Tuya tries it, he opens a fully functional portal, which means that one of his null magics is transport magic called Gate. Later they return, and the receptionist introduces them to Air, who needs suggestions for a dessert that would be popular among the ladies for her cafe menu. Tuya is reminded of how women love to devour a sweet, thick, and creamy ice cream, but they are confused about what that is. At this, Tuya takes out his smartphone and looks for an ice cream recipe. The sisters ask him about his peculiar device, which he calls a smartphone. Tuya simply says it is a magic device that only he can use and tells them not to ask too much about it. Then they start making ice cream, and when they finish, they are amazed at how delicious it is, and Air calls it Tuya's Tasty Cream. After weeks, Tuya begins to get used to living in the new world, becoming even closer to the sisters. They visit a different city for another guild request to deliver a letter, and when Tuya reminds them of the other slimes available for work, the sisters quickly refuse, not wanting to face a similar fate. They mention Aqua and her crew while they faced giant toads. At that moment, they notice a commotion, and when they approach, Tuya recognizes a girl dressed in a samurai outfit, surrounded by guys who are angry with her for snitching on their friends to the authorities for selling illegal contraband. When one of them attacks the girl, throws him to the ground, and while the others are confused with the move she made, Tuya recognizes that she is using jujutsu. Tuya decides to help and uses his magic to attack, forcing Elze and Linze to join the fight. When the guards approach, Tuya drags the samurai girl with them, and they escape to an alley. The girl introduces herself as Yae, who is from an area called Isan, and when Tuya introduces himself, she assumes that he is also from Isan due to his name, but he tells her that he is from a similar place but from a different country. Then she explains that she lost all her money and her stomach starts to growl, so they take her to a restaurant to eat, and she eats with a voracious appetite. Yae then explains her family history. She comes from a family of martial artists, and she is here to test her strength in the royal capital. Hearing that the sisters tell her that they are also heading to the royal capital for their work, so they decide to go together. Then they travel together until there, and during the trip they talk more about null magic. The sisters say that while null magic varies in different ways, most of them are useless, such as curling hair at will. Then they tell Tuya that he, as someone extremely talented in magic, should only learn the useful ones. From the book, Tuya reads one that can transport objects to his hand called a port, and when he recites it, nothing happens happens. The sisters ask him what he tried to take, and he reveals that he tried to transport Yai's katana, but the sisters warn that he can only transport small and nearby objects. Then Tuya tries it again, and this time he manages to take Yai's hair ribbon. But seeing how effective he is at using it, the girls warn him not to be a pervert like Kazuma and steal people's underwear. He then discovers more magic. He finds null magic called Long Sense, and it gives his senses a boost that also warns him not to use it to spy on girls. But suddenly his nose catches something, and he tells them that he smells blood, so he hurries them to follow him. They encounter lizard men who are attacking a carriage and jump in to help defeat them. In the middle of everything, Yai slips and almost dies, but Tuya saves her. When they defeat them all, they think it is clear, but to their confusion, more lizard men appear, forcing the group to fight. At that moment, they see a man summoning lizard men with magic and realize that he is the one behind it. Then Tuya uses his magic and makes the guy slide to the ground, stopping his magic. Afterwards, they meet the group of people they saved, who say they lost people in the battle. Then they show them the carriage where a girl cries for her beloved butler, who is dying after being stabbed by an arrow. Tuya orders Linz to heal him, but she tells him that she cannot do it while the arrow is still inside. Tuya thinks for a second, and using his null magic transports the arrow into his hand, and heals the old man with his healing magic, returning him to full health. To his and the girl's relief and everyone's amazement, the girl thanks Tuya and his group for saving their lives. The butler introduces himself as Liam, butler of Duke Ortland, and states that the girl is the Duke's daughter named Sue. At that moment, apart from Tuya, the girls bow and urge Tuya to do the same. He does not understand what is going on. They explain to him that Duke Ortlinde is the brother of His Majesty the King. Tuya realizes that this makes Sue the king's niece, but she asks Tuya not to call her Your Highness, and instead refer to her by her name. Then the group asks them why they are in the forest, and they explain that they were on their way back to the royal capital when they were attacked. But after questioning the guy who was behind this, they did not know who was responsible. At that moment, after seeing the capabilities of Tuya's team, they ask for protection. The butler asks them to protect their carriage and escort them on their return trip to the royal capital, where Tuya's group will receive a suitable reward for their work. Considering that they are also heading there, Tuya and the girls accept the request. Hours later, they arrive at the royal capital, and upon entering the castle, they are greeted by the maids and the Duke himself, who hugs his beloved daughter and thanks Tuya's group for saving her. He bows before Tuya, and Tuya quickly begs the Duke to stand up. The Duke introduces himself then. He presents himself appropriately as Duke Alfred and invites them for tea. They talk about the attack on Sue and who could have done it, but Alfred says that he does not know but suspects it is someone who wants to kidnap his daughter and threaten his position. At that moment, Sue appears in her dress and joins the conversation. She tells her father that she did not want to tell Ellen, her mother, what had happened, and her father understands perfectly. Alfred apologizes to Tuya for not being able to present her, revealing her condition. Ellen is blind after suffering an illness years ago. Sue then says that the reason she left the royal capital was to meet her grandmother and discover the truth about her grandfather's magic, who was a wizard with a special magic capable of healing blind people. His magic, they claim, was a null magic, but since it is different for each person, people need someone with the ability to use all null magics. Hearing that, the girls look at Tuya, knowing that he could do it. Then they take Tuya to meet Ellen. With his magic, he casts a recovery spell on her blind eyes. When Ellen opens them, to her and everyone's surprise, she can see again, reuniting with her family. The sisters hug Tuya for his brilliance, and Yai expresses her admiration for him for helping others unselfishly. Afterwards, they sit down, and Alfred hands Tuya a bag of coins, which surprises Tuya by how heavy it is. When Alfred reveals that they are 40 platinum coins, the girls freeze, and when they explain to Tuya their value, he realizes they are rich. He tries to return it to Alfred, but he insists that he take it, saying that he will need it for his great adventures. Then Alfred gives them their royal family crests, saying that with them they are allowed to pass any control gate and use royal privileges. Afterwards, they leave the palace with a warm farewell, and when they arrive at their next destination, Yai declares that she wants to give herself to Tuya's service, surprising them, thinking that Tuya is getting another conquest, but she explains that after seeing his kind character, she stays. She wishes to stay by his side. Hearing that the sisters suggest she join their group, knowing that she will be a great addition, and Yai accepts adding another girl to Tuya's list. The next day, the group went shopping in the royal capital, but on their walk, they see a demi-human girl who looks stressed. When Tuya confronts her, she hesitates and cries for a second before revealing that she got lost and was separated from her sister. Hearing that, Tuya takes out his smartphone, turns on the map, and helps her. A few minutes later, they manage to reunite her with her older sister, who thanks them for saving her little sister named Alma, and Tuya and the others continue with their shopping. They promise to meet in 2 hours, but 3 hours later, Tuya arrives late to their meeting, and they notice his new coat. He explains that what he is wearing is a magic coat that increases resistance to magic attacks of the same affinity as his, but doubles magic attacks from affinities he does not have. The girls congratulate him on his style. They say he looks very elegant, but Tuya gets nervous and urges them to go home. Days later, it starts to rain at the Silver Moon Inn, and 2 men are playing shogi to fill the time. Tuya watches them and sees the receptionist scolding her husband for not helping her at the place. But he simply says that he is too addicted to playing after Tuya created a shogi board for them and introduced them to the game. Tuya asks the receptionist, Micah, where everyone is, and she says Linza is asleep. She tells him that Elsa and Yae are out in the rain buying a dessert. At that moment, the two return with the desserts they just bought, and Elsa asks Tuya to take one to Sue and the Duke to show their gratitude. But when he asks why he has to take it, Elsa tells him that he can use his gate to teleport. Later, Sue and her parents enjoy it, and Alfred expresses how jealous he is of Tuya's gate ability, saying he wishes he had it. Tuya then shows him. Tuya introduces Alfred to the game of shogi, and although Sue insists that she wants to play, her father tells her to be patient. Then, after Tuya teaches it to Alfred, he becomes addicted to playing. Sue begs him to let her play, even tickling Tuya, forcing him to teach her. But when Tuya asks Alfred to help her against his own daughter, Alfred is too focused on the game. They end up playing until the night where Alfred remains completely addicted to it. He even begged Tuya to stay. He wanted him to stay the night to play more, but Tuya returns home. The next day, Tuya and the girls look for another job, and when Tuya suggests one to hunt slimes, the girls quickly refuse it, saying how they become sticky and dissolve clothes. And when Tuya imagines it, they scold him for being a pervert. Then he quickly suggests another job, and hours later, they do the job fighting a Dullahan. With their teamwork, they manage to defeat it using a combination of their magics. Later, Tuya searches. Tuya uses his null magic to search for treasure, but to his disappointment, he could not detect any. But Linza suggests that he try to detect valuable things, and when he does, among the ruins, he detects a great historical relic. The girls get excited, and when Tuya leads them there, he says it is under the rubble. Linza steps forward and uses an explosion to destroy and create an opening. They open an entrance that goes down, and for lighting, Linz uses her light magic to guide the group to the relic. While the other girls remain attached to Tuya, scared by possible ghosts, they stumble upon writings engraved on a wall. Since they cannot read what is written, Tuya decides to take pictures of it using his smartphone to save them for later. At that moment, they discover an earth magic stone buried, and since Tuya is the only one who can use earth magic, Linz tells him to transfer his magic to activate it. The girls step back, ensuring their safety, and Tuya transfers his magic to the magic stone. The stone opens a hidden door in the wall. Inside, they see the great relic, and when they clean it, they see its crystal beast shape. They do not know what it is, but suddenly Linz's light magic begins to fade, and they see that the crystal is draining energy from it. Suddenly, the crystal comes to life and reveals that it is a monster. While the place collapses, Tuya quickly opens a portal so that the girls and he can escape. But when they think they are safe, it appears. The creature explodes from the ground and falls on the surface in front of them. They try to fight it, but despite their best efforts to attack it head-on, the creature feels no effect. But then Tuya uses his slip magic to slide the monster and orders Linz to attack it indirectly. Then Linz creates a giant ice and drops it on the beast, creating an opening for Elsa to destroy its legs. Just when they think they have won, the creature recovers its legs and attacks again. This time, it manages to hit Elsa, causing her an injury. While the others distract it, Tuya quickly heals Elsa. He talks to Lindsay about how the monster can regenerate, but that reminds Tuya of shogi and gives him an idea. He whispers a plan to Linza, and the next moment uses his apport magic to take the creature's core, giving Linza a chance to destroy it, forever returning it to ashes. Later, they inform the Duke what just happened, and he promises to send people. The Duke will investigate. Tuya then shows him the images of the writings, and although the Duke has no idea what they are, he suspects they contain clues about why the capital was moved in the first place. The Duke asks Tuya for more help regarding this in the future, and Tuya suggests that he copy the images for him to see. So the next day, Tuya uses his image magic to print the photos, but when he goes to take them to the Duke, he finds him. His carriage is leaving. The Duke appears and tells Tuya to accompany him, saying that his brother the king has been poisoned. On the carriage trip to the royal palace, Duke Alfred informs Tuya about the tragedy that just happened. He informs him that his brother the king has been poisoned, and Alfred believes that some suspicious nobles want him to die, because the king wants to make an alliance with the kingdom of Misme, which is led by a beastman. Alfred explains the situation. He says that only Tuya's recovery spell may be capable of restoring the king's life, and then Tuya silently swears to do whatever is necessary. When they arrive at the large residence of Alfred's brother, they are greeted by a noble with an arrogant attitude, Count Balsa. At the entrance, he states that the assassin responsible for the poisoning has already been captured and is a beastman from the kingdom of Misme. But both Alfred and Tuya doubt him and head to the king's bedroom first. Tuya makes the guy slip before they enter. Then they go in and see the weakened king lying pale in his bed, surrounded by his close ones. Alfred urges Tuya to perform his spell, and Tuya wastes no time and recites the words of recovery on the king, which the people there recognize as the spell capable of curing any abnormal condition. In the blink of an eye, the poison that drains the king's life disappears. His eyes fly open and he breathes normally again. The whole room rejoices, and Alfred quickly introduces Tuya to his brother as the man who also cured his wife's blindness. Grateful for having been saved from death, the king directly thanks thanks Tuya, while his daughter, Princess Yumina, immediately is attracted to Tuya. However, Tuya feels strange when Charlotte, the king's court mage, wants and desires to learn Tuya's magic knowledge. After recovering his health, the king and Alfred want to discover who is responsible for the poisoning. General Leon explains the event. He says the king collapsed after drinking wine during his midday meal in the king's dining room. The king demands to speak with whoever brought them the wine, the ambassador, and when the ambassador Olga arrives, Tuya immediately recognizes her as Alma's older sister, the beast girl who was lost once. Tuya doubts that Olga is guilty of the act, and to confirm it, he insists on inspecting the crime scene, the king's dining room. Then he employs his search spell to locate traces. He wants to find poison, and after using it, he quickly determines the poisoning method. He summons everyone who was there during the lunch where the king collapsed, including Count Balsa. Surprised to see the king alive, Count Balsa immediately tries to convince them that Olga was the culprit, stating that the ambassador's wine is poison. But Tuya takes out a new bottle of wine, pours it into a glass, and asks General Leon to drink it. When he does, he feels nothing now. This confirms that this particular wine is safe. Then Tuya pours the same wine into the king's cup and demands that Count Balsa drink it, saying he has no reason to be afraid. Balsa refuses to drink, so General Leon forces him, and when he drinks it, he begins to have spasms, thinking that he is about to die. But when nothing happens to him, Tuya reveals that he has cleaned the poison and that the real poison was mixed with the cup itself. Exposed, Balsa tries to escape, but Tuya stops him. Then the king thanks Tuya again and is willing to give him a reward, but suddenly Princess Yumina stands up and announces that she wants to marry him. Tuya is stunned and confused, declaring that they do not know him well enough to allow him to marry their daughter, but the king explains that Yumina possesses mystic eyes that allow her to perceive the true nature of people. Tuya tries to make more excuses. He ends up with his engagement made official. Later, while he was thinking in his room, God contacts Tuya through his phone, congratulating him on having conquered the princess. When Tuya shows his concern, God assures him that in this world he can have as many wives as he wants. The next day, they return to the city and the other girls discover Tuya's engagement, and jealousy spreads among them quickly. Yumina then introduces herself to the others and expresses her desire. She wants to accompany Tuya on adventures as a companion and declares that she will now start living with them. At that moment, Elsa asks if this marriage would mean that Tuya will be the next. King and Yumina suggest that it could even be their son, which bewilders them all. Later, Tuya and the girls take on a new task with Yumina accompanying them. Wanting to show her skills, Yumina uses summoning magic and summons shadow wolves. Tuya admires her summoning magic there. He asks her to teach him later, to which she agrees. At that moment, the wolves attract monsters to the group. With teamwork, they defeat the enemies with little effort using a combination of their skill and magic, and here Tuya realizes that Yumina is strong and skilled. After they finish, Tuya expresses his concern about how his group is made up only of girls, afraid that rumors will spread about him, and the girls blush when they hear him talk about them fondly. Later in the city, with Yumina's teachings, Tuya performs summoning magic and summons a huge white tiger. Yumina identifies it as the White Monarch, one of the most powerful monsters. She explains that to forge a contract with him, Tuya must prove that he has enough quality and quantity in his magic energy. But the White Monarch feels something special in Tuya and orders him to pour his magic energy into him. So Tuya does so, unleashing an immense power now. He overwhelms the beast and causes it to collapse. The White Monarch recognizes Tuya as his master, and Tuya calls him Kohaku. Because Kohaku's giant form causes problems within the city, he transforms into an adorable little tiger that charms the girls, who want to hug him to Kohaku's great suffering. Days later, the group heads to another mission, and Tuya and Kohaku are excited but confused as to why the girls are not there, despite it being Kohaku's first mission. The girls explain that the task they are performing is to investigate slimes, and they know that some slimes are capable of melting their clothes. The girls believe they should leave the slimes alone, but Tuya thinks otherwise, believing they need to help the villagers protect themselves. Yumina asks him if it is just an excuse to see their clothes melt, and Tuya assures them that it is not like that. When they enter the slime castle, Tuya receives a blow. Something hits his head, and when they look at what it is, it turns out to be a slime capable of transforming into different materials. They go deeper and look for research left by a scholar who studies slimes, and although most of the research is destroyed, they manage to find a research notebook that remains intact, so they bring it with them. When they get to the basement, the girls get scared since they meet the green slimes. Linsa tries to incinerate. She wants to use magic, but Tuya stops her, fearing she will destroy the castle. As the green slimes approach them, they run upstairs and notice that the slimes do not follow them, realizing that they have their own territory, which is below. But when they go to a higher floor, Elsa slips, and they find a different place with another type of slimes protecting their territory. From the notebook, they learn that these white slimes produce a harmless lotion always. This happens whenever they feel they are in danger. Suddenly, the lotion causes them to slide to the lower level, but Kohaku saves Tuya, while the girls stay sliding towards the green slimes on the floor below. With the slimes stuck to them, their clothes begin to dissolve, showing their skin, and Tuya quickly teleports teleports them towards him using the gate. The green slimes return downstairs and Tuya sees that the damage is done and that all the girls had an accident. Their clothes were ruined. When they see Tuya looking happily, Elsa gives him a blow. They continue exploring and come across strange statues, but upon looking closer, Tuya sees that they move. The girls say they are pinching them, but when he touches them, he feels it is soft and suddenly it turns into slime. They discover that they are slimes that adhere to women. One jumps on Yumina, but she destroys it instantly while convincing herself that hers will grow. Further in, Tuya finds a secret chamber containing the slime researcher's diary, which reveals his dream of creating women using slimes. Suddenly, the slimes transform into a version of his girls, but they quickly close his eyes and leave him unconscious. In the end, they burn the castle, convinced that it is for a greater good, while Tuya secretly wishes he could have investigated more. The next day, Tuya walks through the city with Kohaku and sees Yae accompanying a girl. She is a lost girl. The lost girl refuses to share her name, so Tuya deploys his little Kohaku to win her over and manages to learn that the girl's name is Rim. Tuya uses his search ability to find her mother, but when it fails, he uses his smartphone to expand his search and successfully locates her. Then they take Rim to her mother for a beautiful meeting, and Yae asks how Tuya managed to do that. Tuya explains the method. Combining the search with his phone allows him to locate any person if he knows their name and appearance, but hearing that Yae begs him to help her find her brother. They sit in a cafe, and Yae reveals that she has not seen her brother since he left on a trip. Tuya then asks her more about her brother, and the more Yae talks, the closer Tuya gets to her brother's whereabouts. But in the process, Yae admits a truth. She is similar to Tuya, and she loves them both, but after confessing, she gets very nervous and retracts her words. Later in his room, Tuya experiments more with spell combinations and discovers that he can see through walls. He accidentally sees Linz changing and quickly looks away, not wanting to be disrespectful. Linz then visits him to learn new spells, but admits she cannot read them because they are written in ancient script. Tuya creates some glasses then. They translate the text automatically and prove that, to her surprise, she can read. She sees a spell called Bubble Bomb and urges them to try it immediately. Outside, Linza keeps trying to use the spell, and each attempt leaves her breathless but closer to success. But suddenly she collapses from running out of mana, so Tuya takes her back to her room to rest. The next day, Linz is practicing her spell again when Tuya suddenly holds her hand. He transfers his mana to her. Linza is surprised by how quickly this makes a difference in her health, and Tuya reveals that he learned it from Charlotte. Then she tells Tuya that she still cannot imagine the spell coming to life. Tuya suggests that she imagine the closest thing to a bubble bomb, which is a soap bubble, and when she does, she manages to deploy a bubble bomb thanks to Tuya's guidance. Some days later, during a battle, Elsa, she breaks her gauntlet while trying to hit the enemy and asks Tuya to take her to the royal capital to get new gauntlets. During their visit, Tuya surprises Elsa admiring a dress and quickly makes an apology, saying that Linza would look great in it unlike her, but Taoya encourages her, saying that he thinks she would look beautiful in it, making her blush. She believes that a girl like her would not fit in that dress now. Hearing that Tuya takes her to try it on, when she wears it, she thinks she looks bad, but Tuya assures her that she looks great, so he buys it for her as a gift. Then, Elsa shows her dress to the others, earning their praise. But when Elsa says that Tuya bought it for her, they all demand that Tuya also buy them dresses. At that moment, Yumina receives a letter from the royal capital demanding that Tuya go there soon. They want to give him the title of knight for what he did. But the next day, Tuya decides to reject his knighthood from the king, and instead, the king gives him a mansion to live in. And when Tuya and the girls saw it for the first time, they were amazed at how huge it is. When they enter, Tuya says that living in a house with multiple girls would be a lot of work. The girls are shocked. They were surprised by what he said, since they had thought he would live here only with Yumina, since the mansion was donated by her father the king, not being sure if they are welcome. The girls hesitate, but Tuya reassures them quickly, saying that he loves all four of them, treats them equally, and sees them as his family, and his words make them blush and smile shyly. All run away quickly blushing, and Yumina tells Tuya her feelings. She is happy to be his future wife, and she does not mind sharing his love with others. Later in the garden, Tuya plays with Kohaku, who enjoys the new home they were given. The girls appear and then ask again if he is really sure that they all continue living together, for fear that he simply uses them and kicks them out. Tuya responds without hesitation that he promises to treat everyone fairly and never favor one person. This makes them happy. Later, they meet the servants who will manage the mansion. Their leader is a butler who introduces himself as Lime, and Tuya is surprised to learn that Lame once worked directly for the king, but Lame expresses how grateful he is to be able to work now under the supervision of his brother's rescuer the rest of his life. And when Lame tells him who his brother is, Tuya realizes that Lame is Sue's brother. He is the older brother of Sue's butler. So with Yumina's approval, Tuya accepts them to work in his mansion. Then, Duke Alfred and Princess Sue come to visit. When Sue finds out about his engagement to Princess Yumina, Sue teases Tuya for not wasting time and marrying the princess. And Alfred even suggests that Tuya should add another girl to his list and marry Sue as well. Although Sue likes that idea, Tuya gets nervous now. He quickly changes the subject. The Duke then reveals the real reason he came to visit, which is that he needs Tuya's help. He explains that a formal alliance between Belfast and the Beastman Kingdom of Misme is about to be finalized, and Tuya's magic gate spell is the safest way to transport the kings to meet each other without danger. But to do that, Tuya must first visit the kingdom of Misme. The next day, Tuya meets. He meets the squad that will help them reach Misme, and among them are Olga and her sister, who are part of the Misme Beastman crew, and a member of the Belfast squad, Lion, who gets nervous whenever Olga speaks to him. Then they travel to Misme in carriages, where Tuya and the others play cards and shogi. When night falls, Tuya tells them stories of famous actors from his homeland, whom they admire. At that moment, a beast man, feels someone approaching, and when Tuya uses his phone to detect them, he sees that there are groups of bandits waiting to attack them. Suddenly, Tuya has an idea, and using his smartphone, he tags all the bandits and uses the paralyzing spell on all of them, which to everyone's surprise manages to defeat them. When the time comes to arrest them, Lion gets nervous near Olga, and Tuya and the girls notice that he feels something. He likes her, but the girls are upset by how Tuya can see that while he is completely blind to the fact that the girls are desperate for his attention. The next day, Tuya, Alma, and Yumina are exploring the nearby city when they see Lion buying some gifts from the market vendors. When they confront him, he makes an excuse saying that he is buying some souvenirs for his mother, but Tuya clearly sees he wants one. He wants to buy one for Olga, so Tuya helps him by asking Alma, Olga's sister, to choose one. And when she also talks about how her sister would like the one with a flower, it gives Lion a hint on what to buy. When they leave, they see Lion buying one for Olga. Later, while they continue their journey, they see Olga using exactly the same flower hairpin that they suggested to Lion, and Yumina congratulates him, saying that she would also love to receive one from the man she loves. At that moment, both Tuya and Kohaku feel that someone is watching them, so they suggest that they must be more cautious. Then at night, the ground shakes suddenly. A giant dragon emerges from the darkness, causing havoc in the nearby city. Tuya knows that something is wrong, since dragons do not usually act so aggressively. He quickly orders half of the group to evacuate villagers. He and Kohaku distract the dragon. With a roar, the dragon chases them to an open field. Kohaku growls fiercely, standing protectively in front of Tuya. To Tuya's surprise, Kohaku begins to speak to the dragon in his native language, and Kohaku tells Tuya that this dragon wants them dead. Then the battle begins, and Tuya throws multiple lightning javelins, sending the dragon to the ground. Then, Linsa jumps in and cuts off its wings before it can rise. Furious, the dragon breathes fire, and Tuya quickly saves Linz from danger. Suddenly, the others attack together from different sides, but the dragon's scales are too hard. Just when things look bad, a throwing knife suddenly flies through the air and stabs the dragon in the eye. Stumbling and weakened, the beast gives Tuya and the others the chance they need, and with the power of friendship, they bring down the dragon. But before they can celebrate it, another dragon appears, but unlike the previous one, this one is very calm. To their surprise, it speaks with human words, apologizing for the actions of the others. Tuya warns it not to attack again, and the dragon accepts. With the danger gone, Tuya and the others return to the village and work into the night to put out fires and help the injured. The next day, they finished cleaning up, and Tuya wakes up in Yumina's lap. The other girls look on with jealousy. Later, seeing how much Tuya's kindness stands out by defeating the dragon without demanding any payment, he decides to give away all the valuable dragon materials to the villagers so they can rebuild. Leon and the commander watch Tuya with admiration. As a thank you, the village chief gives Tuya the dragon Fang as a gift, saying it can be forged and become a powerful weapon. He also returns the knife. The knife was stuck in the dragon's eye, assuming it belongs to Tuya, but Tuya had never seen it before. Then inside the carriage, Tuya asks Kohaku if anyone else was present during the fight. Kohaku confirms that two figures were hidden in the trees, but before Tuya can think about it, they arrive at the kingdom of Misme. There they are greeted by the king of Misme, King Jamuka, and he expresses his thanks to them. They defeated the dragon in one of his villages. Princess Yumina ensures that the king knows it was Tuya who was primarily responsible. When the king asks who she is, she introduces herself as the daughter of the king of Belfast and Tuya's fiancé, showing that their kingdom takes its alliance seriously. Then she gives the king a letter from her father, and the king sends them to enjoy his palace. But when he looks at Tuya, he sees his aura and demands a match. This surprises Tuya, and he discovers that King Jamuka is an absolute fan of fighting who wants to fight anyone who is powerful, and that he expects Tuya not to hold back. The match begins, and Tuya uses his sliding magic spell, making Jamuka fall and lose instantly. Surprised by this unusual magic, the king refuses to accept such a quick loss and demands another duel, this time forbidding Tuya's spell. Tuya cannot use the slide. In the second fight, Jamuka proves his mastery of martial arts, demonstrating his superiority. While Taoya uses his magic, the king demonstrates his null magic Axel, which increases his speed. That surprises and intrigues Taoya, so he copies the moves and matches Jamuka's pace for their battle. In the end, Tuya manages to defeat Jamuka. He accepts his defeat with grace and even admits that he had too much confidence in himself. He did not expect someone to defeat him with his own skill. Later, Tuya attends a party organized by King Jamuka and sees the girls in beautiful dresses, which makes them look more attractive than before. He decides to take a photo, but the flash scares some people, and Jamuka asks him what it is. Tuya explains to him how taking pictures works, and even shows him that he can print them on paper. And seeing that, Jamuka asks him to also take pictures of him, to which he accepts. After hundreds of photos, Tuya takes a break, but suddenly a teddy bear appears and asks Tuya to follow it. When he does, Tuya enters a room and meets Lean, who introduces herself as an ancient fairy and recognizes Tuya as the Dragon Slayer. Tuya asks her about the magic teddy bear called Paula, and she informs him that it is a normal teddy bear. It was programmed by her program spell to move. She demonstrates how her spell is capable of moving an inanimate object by moving the chair she is sitting on, impressing Tuya. But then Tuya brings out his big move and copies her spell, surprising her with his magic prowess. When Tuya reveals that he can use all magic elements, she decides unilaterally to make him her apprentice, but he rejects her offer and runs away. Later, while resting, Tuya thinks about the program spell and gets an idea. The next morning, as he leaves, Linsa and Yumina meet him and want to join him in whatever he is planning. They go to the forest, and there, using a combination of his skills, including the program spell, Tuya creates a weapon with a blade attached to it. With the program spell, he can shoot and reload the weapon whenever it is empty. He tells the girls he inspired. His fight against Jamuka inspired him, and he wants a weapon he can use when he cannot use magic. Hearing that the girls ask him to make them one too, so he asks them to choose a design and creates custom weapons for them. Tuya then programs the weapon so it is even capable of turning into a sword, and when the girls ask him what he will call it, Tuya decides to name it Brunhild. Later, feeling hungry, they decide to make a quick stop at the market to try Misme's traditional food, but suddenly, Kohaku feels that people are following them and informs his master. Tuya quickly asks the girls to get a table while he deals with some quick business. Using his Axel, he attacks the spies following him, and they quickly throw a stun grenade before escaping, but Tuya tracks them with his smartphone and appears behind them again. Quickly, he shoots them. He uses his rubber bullets and ties them up for interrogation. When he searches them for weapons, he accidentally touches their attributes and realizes that the spies are his Belfast maids, Lapis and Cecil, who explain that the King of Belfast sent them to watch and protect Princess Yumina from a distance. They beg Tuya not to tell Yumina, saying she would get angry if she found out, and it would be a national matter. So Tuya stays. He decides to keep quiet and joins the girls to eat the traditional dish that Tuya recognizes as curry because of its look and its spicy taste. The next day, Tuya finally opens a door that connects Misme and Belfast, so the King of Belfast can come and have his meeting with King Jamuka regarding their alliance. Days later, they return home after their adventure, and Lapis secretly thanks Tuya for keeping their spying mission a secret. Then, Tuya lies on his bed, tired from his adventures, and falls asleep. When he wakes up hours later still sleepy, he wants to bathe, but his door is left completely open when he accidentally sees the girls about to bathe. They scold him for his recklessness, but he cannot look away, which earned him more scoldings. Later, Tuya is learning to build a bicycle when Duke Alfred comes to visit, and he is there to thank him. He thanks Tuya for his help with the Misme problem. When he asks Tuya what a bicycle is, instead of explaining it, he lets Duke Alfred try to ride it, but despite falling, Alfred refuses to stop. At that moment, the girls see what is happening and are interested, so Tuya makes several bicycles for them to try riding. At first, all have difficulties, but when Yumina shows them how it is done and receives praise, Tuya praises her, and the others become competitive and want Tuya to also praise them, causing the sisters to even collide with each other. Seeing how much fun everyone is having, Alfred asks Tuya to make him another bicycle for his daughter Sue back home, and tells Tuya that he will pay for the materials, so Tuya heads out to buy some. On his way, he sees a small boy being beaten by two thugs who assume the thugs think the boy is stealing in their territory. Tuya stops to save the boy and shoots the thugs with his rubber bullets. The boy thanks Tuya, and Tuya tells him to stop stealing before leaving. But suddenly the boy's stomach starts to growl, and he says he has not eaten in 3 days. Seeing that Tuya offers to buy him some food, the boy runs to him, but his hat falls, revealing her long hair. She is actually a girl named Ren. While she eats, they sit, and Ren reveals that her mother died when she was born, and her dad disappeared after fighting a magic beast, which forced Ren to live and sleep on the streets her whole life. Hearing that, Tuya offers Ren to work for him as a maid, promising to give her a place to live, food, and even a salary, with the condition that she stops stealing. She accepts his offer and starts her work as a domestic employee under Laim immediately. Days later, Tuya, Sue, and Yumina visit the kingdom of Misme to see the festival, and suddenly they see Alma, so they call her to join them, and she introduces herself to the other girls. Just then, they see Olga on a date with Lion, and wanting to see more, Alma chases them, forcing the others to go with them. Then, they notice that Lion still hesitates about holding her hand, and although the girls do not understand the hesitation, Tuya explains that holding hands is something very intimate. The couple enters a cafe, and the girls beg Tuya to do something so they can keep spying on them. Tuya uses his phone to observe and listen to them. They find that the two have become closer, and Alma sees that her sister is is genuinely happy with Lion. She supports their relationship. When the couple leaves the cafe, Alma wants to confront them, but bumps into a large hooded man. When they see who it is, they discover that it is King Jamuka, so he joins them, stalking the couple, and explains that as king, he likes to clear his mind by walking through the city in secret. When Jamuka sees that Lion does not have the guts to grab Olga's shoulder, he gets angry. He says guys of his era would have acted in that very moment. Just then, some thugs are causing havoc, intimidating the vendors, and Lion bravely faces them, winning praise from the girls. But when the thugs draw weapons against him, Tuya and Jamuka jump in to help him using masks, defeating the thugs with ease. Lion recognizes Tuya with his costume, while Olga recognizes her own king in a mask, but before they ask, Jamuka attacks quickly, letting Tuya have to explain himself. Tuya goes straight to the point and tells Lion to confront his feelings, asking him if he wants to go out with Olga. When Lion says yes, he forgets that Olga is right behind him, and now she is blushing, but accepts his feelings for her. Everyone celebrates and the girls run to hug her. After Tuya and Yumina return to their house in the mansion, there Lion informs them that someone is here to meet Tuya. From the shadows, Paula, the magic teddy bear, appears, and Lean also reveals herself next to Charlotte, her apprentice. Lean then introduces herself to Yumina as the elder of the fairy people and even reveals her fairy wings that she almost no longer uses. To Yumina's surprise, Leon tells Tuya that she is here to talk to him about the crystal magic beast he defeated. It was months ago, and she invites all parties involved. She reveals that days ago she visited a town that claimed to have seen a crack in the sky, but when she got there, the place was attacked by a crystal magic beast, and she needs Tuya and his girls to defeat it. She adds that these monsters were once called Frozen in legends, but before that, Lean wants Tuya to use his gate ability. She wants him to take them to Isan. Tuya explains that he can only do that for places he has visited. Then Lean suggests reading the mind of one of his girls using the recovery spell to see what the place is like and use his gate that way. Yai realizes that they are talking about her hometown and she does not want Tuya to see her mind, knowing that she has romantic thoughts about him. But Lean assures her that Tuya will not see what Yai refuses to show him. So with Lean's guidance, they connect their hands and heads together, and Tuya uses the recall ability to see how Isan looks in Yai's mind. Then, with his gate ability, he teleports them successfully to Isan. Lean asks her where she can find the Nirya ruins, and when Yai says her father might know, Lean pulls her. She urges her to guide her there. When they arrive at the city, the girls are amazed at how different things look compared to their city, while Tuya sees that everything here is exactly like the Japan he knows. But Yai realizes that something is wrong. Then they arrive at Yai's house and are greeted by their housemaid, Ayani, and Yai's mother, Nanai, who hugs her daughter, relieved to see her safe now. Yai asks her where her father is, and Nanai informs her that her father is with their lord Ieyasu on the battlefield. That surprises Yai and the others, and Nanai informs them that they are fighting the Takeda, who have suddenly become stronger. Ayani adds that Yai's brother, Jutaro, is also there trying to hold on to Kawago Fortress, but it seems it will soon fall. Hearing that Yai asks Tuya for help and he accepts, he happily accepts, and promises to bring back Yai's father and her brother safe and sound. Then they arrive at the fortress, and Tuya informs Yai that he will use Long Sense and a gate to get there first and ensure that everything is safe. To Tuya's surprise, he sees that they are dealing with the Undead and opens a gate directly to the inside of the fortress, where Jutaro quickly points his sword. Tuya explains that he is a friend of Yai and that he is here to help. Yai enters through the portal and hugs her brother, happy to see him alive. When he asks whom she brings with her, Yai introduces them as her comrades. He asks about their father, and Jutaro assures her that their father is fine and he is protecting their lord Ieyasu. Seeing everyone wounded around them, Tuya uses his phone and skills. He uses multiple abilities to heal each of their wounds, which surprises Jutaro. He asks what he did, and when Yai says it is magic, he is in disbelief. Tuya asks them about their undead enemies' masks, and while Jutaro has no idea, Lean informs them that they are artifacts, which are powerful magic objects from ancient civilizations. Hearing that, Tuya says it is better if they eliminate them all at once, surprising everyone there. With his relaxed attitude, he opens his map with his smartphone and tags all the enemies, and with his magic makes lightning rain down on them, annihilating them completely in a single blow, impressing everyone there. Afterwards, they sit down to talk with their village chief Ieyasu and Yai's father Jubei. They talk about their enemy Takeda, and Ieyasu believes they will attack again with their army of the undead. Ieyasu believes. He thinks since the leader of Takeda passed away, his army has been taken over by Kansuke, who leads the army of the dead, and that if they can find him and capture him, they will win the battle. Suddenly, a voice rises offering to show them where Kansuke is, and a ninja comes out who introduces herself as Tsubaki, a messenger from one of the Takeda leaders. In the letter, Ieyasu learns everything. All of Takeda's generals have been held captive by Kansuke, and they ask Ieyasu and his men to defeat Kansuke to save the Takeda. While Ieyasu does not want to do it, he knows he has to, and Tuya suggests that using Lean's ability to make her wings invisible, they use that same ability to infiltrate. Tuya then uses the recovery ability with Tsubaki to see what the Takeda fortress looks like. That night, he, Lean, and Tsubaki go there. Before infiltrating, Lean casts the invisibility spell for herself and Tuya, while Tsubaki will guide them inside. But before entering, Lean teases and begins to play with Tsubaki, while claiming that Tuya is the one who bothers her. Tuya assures Tsubaki it was not him, but Tsubaki does not know whom to believe. Then they head to the underground to first free Tsubaki's master. He is one of Takeda's generals named Baba, and is impressed by Tuya's magic abilities to free him easily. Then they head deeper to free the other two generals and go to face Kansuki. But before doing so, they destroy the magic barrier, and Tuya shoots and annihilates all the undead with his magic missiles. Then they face Kansuki and free their shogun. But as an undead Tsubaki and the generals, they watch with horror since they refuse to raise their swords against their beloved shogun. But Tuya does not care about anything and attacks him with his Brunhild, defeating him instantly. Kansuke is impressed by Tuya's skill, but then reveals his secret weapon, a magic eye from a corrupt gem. He reveals that he uses it to create his army of the undead, but Tuya does not care and takes it. He takes it from the eye using magic. It surprises Kansuke, and when Lean examines it, she determines that the magic gem is corrupted and should be destroyed. So while Kansuki begs them not to do it, Lean throws it into the sky and Tuya shoots it into 100 pieces. It defeats Kansuki, crumbling his army of the undead, and all pay their respects to the fallen shogun. The next day, they calmed. Baba helps them in their search for the Nirya ruins, and Tuya uses his recovery ability on him so he can open a gate to the ruins. Yai says goodbye to her family and thanks Tuya for the help he has provided them. Then they teleport to the ruins, which takes them to a beach, and using his smartphone, Tuya detects that it is somewhere inside the ocean. The girls play. They play in the water, expressing how they would love to wear their swimsuits and play. So Tuya decides to make a beach day to relax, and invites everyone he knows through the gate portal, from the Duke to the King, who are grateful that Tuya brought them there to have some fun. The girls then ask Tuya where they can put on their swimsuits, and Tuya makes them a hut. Some get tense when putting on their swimsuits. Inside, Elsa and Yumina are amazed and intimidated by the size of other people's attributes, while they are stuck with more modest bodies. When they finish changing, they show it to Tuya, purposefully presenting themselves in an attractive way. And when he congratulates them all, Elsa is relieved to know that Tuya loves all shapes and sizes. Then Elsa and Yai go. They go to play in the water while Tuya watches, unable to look away. But Linza decides to stay on land, saying she cannot swim, and Tuya warns her about a heat stroke. Just then, Sue and Ren appear in swimsuits, earning Tuya's compliments, and he takes a photo of them as a souvenir. Suddenly, Cecil appears behind him, and when Tuya looks back, his eyes cannot help. They are attracted to her attributes. She explains that there were no swimsuits of her size, which bewilders Tuya, but she assures him that she is there to look after the others. Everyone continues having fun on the beach, from tanning to swimming. But then Yumina appears in a swimsuit, and when Tuya calls her cute, Yumina asks him to swim with her, but Tuya tells her he has to go. He has to go look for the ruins first. Yumina tells him that she will wait in the same way she will wait for their marriage, and that reminds Tuya that he still has his engagement with her. Suddenly, Lean appears with Paula and begins to tease Tuya for being a lucky man having all these girls, and even tempted him to also look at Tsubaki in a swimsuit. After the jokes, she gets serious and talks about the ruins that are somewhere in the ocean, but she orders Tuya to go inside since she refuses to get wet. So Tuya gets into the ocean but quickly realizes that he is not made for this and loses his breath. After coming out, Tuya tells Lean that he has found the ruins, but they need to find a way to function normally underwater. He asks if there is a spell that makes them capable of breathing underwater, and Lean says she does not know any, since she has never been interested in learning one. Then she calls Charlotte and asks her if she knows an underwater spell. When Charlotte says no, Lean scolds her, calling her an idiot. Kohaku intervenes in the conversation and tells them that he knows someone who can help, someone of his stature, the Black Monarch. So they summon the Black Monarch, but Kohaku warns Tuya that the Black Monarch is actually two animals, and he has no idea what they will do. He demands that Tuya make a pact with them, so he suggests he be careful. Then the Black Monarch appears, a snake and a turtle, and they quickly recognize Kohaku, but are confused when they learn. They learn Kohaku has a normal human master, but Kohaku is not worried since he believes that in due time Tuya will also be their master. The Black Monarch accepts that if Tuya wants to make a pact with them and be their master, then he has to fight them until sunset and survive. Tuya agrees, steps forward, and uses his slip spell, making both fall, electrocuting themselves now. In quick succession, he uses his programmed spell on his bullets, telling them to always make the Black Monarch slip whenever they get up. And with that, for the next 6 hours, the Black Monarch keeps slipping in place. In another place, the girls are playing beach volleyball, and while the sisters win, Linza accidentally has a wardrobe problem. But when they notice that Tuya is not there, they feel a little jealous that Tuya is somewhere with Lean. With Tuya, the Black Monarch completely surrenders to him, accepting him as his master. They ask him to give them names as he did with Kohaku, and although Tuya wants to give them funny names, he chooses to name the snake Kokuyu and the turtle Sango. But before starting, Kohaku asks them to transform into a smaller form form. They accept and become a floating animal duo that stays with Tuya. Then, before reaching the ruins, Tuya suggests they enjoy the beach first, and Lean accepts knowing that the others are jealous of having him all to herself. Tuya approaches and apologizes to them for being absent, and they all swim together to make up for lost time. After hours of fun, Tuya prepares to visit. He visits the ruins and the girls wish him luck and safety before leaving. Then the Black Monarch sticks to his shoulders and gives him the ability to submerge. Tuya is amazed by their magic being able to do this. They reach the ruins and inside find a magic gem on the floor, and when Tuya touches it, it transports him to a magic garden. There he faces the garden terminal. Francesca greets his arrival, but Tuya is confused and asks her why she goes without underwear. Francesca sees no reason why she should not present herself as she does, even offering Tuya a closer look. But when she sees how Tuya gets nervous, she takes out a skirt and puts it on. Then he asks her where they are, and she reveals the place. They are in the Garden of Babylon, which floats in the sky. She takes him to see the view and informs him that the Garden of Babylon was created by its creator, Professor Regina Babylon, 5,000 years ago. The Black Monarch warns Tuya that they cannot feel any life coming from Francesca, and Francesca reveals to Tuya that she was created by Regina from machine and magic. She acts as the garden's control terminal, making her an android, but she assures Tuya that they can still be intimate if he wants, even showing Tuya the most perfect roast beef sandwich he has ever seen. But Tuya refuses the offer and focuses more on this new discovery. Tuya asks her more about the Garden of Babylon, and she says that for the last 5,000 years, the garden has been on autopilot until now that they finally have a guest. She declares that Tuya is perfectly compatible to be its new owner and that of the garden. Tuya asks her why she decided that, and Francesca states that just as Professor Regina predicted 5,000 years ago, Tuya manages to pass through the magic circle that can only be activated by someone special, the one who has affinities to all types of magic, which is Tuya. She also adds that an additional determining factor that made Tuya as perfect as her master is because he was not some degenerate who goes crazy with her the second he sees her, as if she would have instantly kicked him out if he had started bothering her. But instead, Tuya was the kind. He shows that he cares about her. So now she declares Tuya as her new master and asks him to give her orders. Meanwhile, the girls are playing on the beach with the water and the sand while waiting for Tuya's return. Only as they begin to get worried about him, Tuya appears from his portal and invites the girls to the Garden of Babylon now. When they get there, the girls marvel at the floating garden, while Leon recognizes the garden as another ancient magic civilization. When she sees Francesca next to Tuya, she teases him for already having another girl on his list. And while Tuya tries to explain who she is, Francesca makes it worse by mentioning how she already showed Tuya her domain and how she is willing. She wants to please him. The others catch this conversation and demand an explanation from Tuya, wanting to know what weird things they have been doing while they were away. Linz orders him to get on his knees, scolding him for not being satisfied with them. Seeing this, Lean suggests that the others should balance things out and make Tuya notice their interest, and even clarify. They should make clear why they are jealous. The girls hesitate to confront their feelings, and Yumina suggests they look around the garden, while Lean clears things up with Tuya and Francesca about what happened. During their exploration, Yumina confronts the others, reminding them of their conversation months ago when they first moved into the mansion. Back then, Yumina told them she loved Tuya and confronted. The girls felt the same way. They all tried to reject it, but Yumina pointed out everyone's behavior around Tuya and how they all wanted to be with him. Then she suggested they all share him, but Yumina was willing to wait for their answers. Now in the present, she wants to know their answers and points out how they have to get closer to Tuya. When she again suggests that they all share their beloved and be his wives, they all daydream about being his wife and cannot help but surrender to that idea. Meanwhile, Tuya is discussing the Garden of Babylon, and Lean tells him that while she did not find what she was looking for, she believes she found better things in the form of a 5,000-year-old island. They ask Francesca if there is anything else in this garden, and she reveals that while it has nothing but the garden, there are other floating islands beside this garden made by the professor, and they are all controlled by her robotic sisters, and that the islands together create Babylon itself. At that very moment, the others join them, and Tuya notices how they are red. He quickly ignores his concerns. They continue the discussion and say that the true Babylon has places like libraries, saunas, and even a special place to explore, but since they are all magically protected, they cannot see the other islands from the surface. Francesca says she cannot contact the other islands, but Linsa suggests using Tuya's smartphone to detect them. But for his disappointment, he cannot find the other islands. Then Tuya realizes that the only way to find them is by finding the magic teleportation circles, the same ones he found in the ruins. But to his disappointment, once again, Francesca does not know where to find them. Lean changes the subject and addresses Francesca and wonders what they should do with her. Francesca expresses her deep desire. She wants to always be with Tuya all the time, from the moment he wakes up until he sleeps at night. Suddenly, Tuya has an idea and asks Francesca if she can simply leave the Garden of Babylon. She says she can, informing him that the garden can take care of itself and can teleport if there is any problem. But to do that, Tuya has to finish finish his registration to become its owner and the master of the garden. Then Francesca stands up and in front of everyone kisses Tuya to test his genetics. Surprising all the girls there, Yumina screams with furious disbelief because someone kissed Tuya before her. But Linsa stands up silently, scaring Tuya, who thinks they are going to hurt him. But suddenly, Linsa tells Tuya that she loves him and also kisses him, surprising everyone even more. Later, they take Francesca back with them and employ her as one of the mansion's maids under Lime's guidance. Tuya goes to his room to lie down and reflect on Linsa's confession. Just then, Yumina knocks on his door and asks to enter. She sits, looks at him intently. She expresses her anger for not receiving a kiss from him while two others have received it. She says that as his future wife, she should be the first to kiss him. Then she sits next to him and tells him that he has to hug her and kiss her to compensate her. Tuya initially does not want to do that, but when he looks closely and yields, hugs her slowly from the side and gives her a sweet and soft kiss on the lips. Yumina feels happy because she is the only one who received a kiss from Tuya, initiated by him. Then she talks to him about Linsa and what her feelings are for her. Tuya admits that he was happy that she confessed and that he has feelings for her. Suddenly, Yumina calls Linsa, and she reveals herself invisible all this time using Lean's spell, surprising Tuya. Yumina tells Tuya it is his fault for not answering Linsa's question, leaving her waiting and crying, thinking he hates her. Through tears, Lindsay apologizes for not considering Tuya's feelings before confessing, but Tuya calms her and assures her he believes she is cute and he likes her. Seeing this conclusion, Yumina informs Tuya that it is very common for kings and nobles to have several wives, so she offers Tuya to add Linsa as his future wife. Linsa has no objection to that idea and even encourages it, so Tuya decides to add Linsa as one of his wives and they all hug. But the girls demand a goodnight kiss, and Tuya can only give them kisses on the forehead for now before going to sleep. The next morning, Tuya wakes up and Elsa is angry with him and demands they talk. She brings him outside and there Yai is waiting for their arrival. They confront him for accepting Linz as his wife and ask him. They ask if he feels something for her and is not just seeking to conquer and leave her. He assures them that while he has not fully loved her, he will marry her properly. Suddenly, both girls demand that he fight them right at that instant and that if they win, he has to listen to one of their requests. Before Tuya gets to argue. Before he argues about their demand, the two girls attack, forcing Tuya to take out Brunhild. He manages to block Yai's attack and attacks her with rubber bullets. Then Elsie attacks and manages to be crashed into the ground. Tuya demands that she admit defeat, but Elsa refuses, saying he is too kind, which is the reason why she fell in love with him. Tuya is surprised by her words and pulls the trigger, but realizes that his bullets are finished. He realizes that a previous attack destroyed his ammo bag, and while he is without his weapon, Elsa wins. When he wakes up, both girls demand that he include them as his wives, confessing that both are in love with him too. It surprises him that they fought him just for this request, and both Yumina and Lindsay appear, revealing that they all had the idea of being his wives a long time ago. They ask him what he feels for them, and he admits that he likes both Elsa and Yai, but asks all of them to give him some time to think. They understand, knowing they imposed it. Later, Tuya is sitting alone when Francesca appears to accompany him. He expresses his feelings to her and tells her that he feels insecure about whether he can give love fairly with multiple wives. Just then, she tells him that she has a message from Professor Regina Babylon for him and pulls a cable from the port. She connects it to his phone. From it, Tuya sees a hologram of Regina who looks like the ideal girl. Regina greets Tuya, revealing that she knows who he is, but suddenly shows him her beauty, making him nervous. After finishing joking, Regina tells Tuya that she possesses a tool that allows her to see into the future, and that every reaction and response that he gave to her, she already knows his hologram, so she can leave him a message. Regina admits she has been watching Tuya and his adventures with the girls until the end out of curiosity, but there are times when the future is uncertain for her, such as the moment the Phrases started attacking them. She says the Phrasen have changed the course of time for them. This changes Tuya's future, but from what she has seen, Tuya's future is heading towards Armageddon. But then the threat suddenly disappeared, and Regina can continue observing the strange adventures of Tuya with his girls, which is her only form of entertainment. In exchange, Regina hands over all the land of Babylon to Tuya, allowing him to use it at his will. Tuya then asks if that means Regina can also see his and the girls' future. Regina says she can, but when Tuya asks her what it is like, Regina refuses to reveal it, not wanting to ruin the fun that she is observing. In another place, God relaxes with snacks watching anime, when suddenly Tuya appears from a portal to visit him. He asks God's opinion about marrying several girls at once, and God simply tells him to enjoy it and live his life. But when Tuya still hesitates, God calls an expert in the form of the goddess of love to give Tuya some advice. Tuya then tells her that his doubt is against the situation of having several wives in life, but she tells him that it is okay for him to be selfish in wanting to marry all of them, and assures him that as long as he has his heart in it, everything will be fine. After thinking it over, he calls all the girls to meet with him to make the decision, and decides that he will not marry them yet. They are all in shock, demanding an explanation. Some even think it is because they smell like the sea, but Tuya informs them that he will not not marry them for now, as he feels he is not capable of being a good husband and that he is not man enough for them for now. He asks them to wait a little longer. He even lets them stop loving him in the process if that is what they want, but they are all determined to love him until the end. With this conclusion, Yumina suggests that as his fiancés, they all should receive a kiss from him. When Yumina and Linza reveal they have been kissed before, the others demand the same treatment now. When Tuya is about to kiss Elsa, she hits him saying she is not ready for such intimacy. Meanwhile, Leon and the others are watching, and Francesca reveals to Leon that the professor sees in the future that Tuya will have 9 wives in total.